Hey y'all, welcome back to the Bedroom Spice Unfiltered. I'm your host, Deshaun Phillips, and if you're new here, this is where we have the real, raw, unfiltered conversations. We talk about dating, relationships, sex, and everything people feel, but don't always say out loud. If you like a little honesty, if you like a little controversy, and conversations that might hit a nerve, but actually make you think, I want y'all to go ahead and subscribe and stay tapped in because, baby, we got some real hot topics over here. Now, y'all gonna have to excuse me on this one because my allergies are acting up really bad. So if I sound stopped up or whatever, it's the allergies, okay? All right, so y'all, let's jump right into it. Let's jump right into it, y'all. Um, this is one of those conversations that people don't really care for or don't really like because it forces you to look at yourself without the distractions, without the excuses, without the I'm doing better narrative that you've been telling yourself. And I'm not even speaking from a place of judgment. I'm speaking from experience because, yes, just like some of you all, I've been there before too, if not still going through it, right? So there was a time where I really thought I was healing. I thought I had moved on, right? I thought I was in a better place mentally and emotionally because I wasn't crying anymore. I wasn't constantly thinking about the situation. I wasn't sitting in that same pain every day. So in my mind, I took that as, progress, right? But in all honesty, I wasn't healing. I was just making myself busy so that I didn't have to think about, what was heartbreaking for me, right? I had filled my life up with so many distractions that I didn't have time to feel anything deeply. I was around people more, having conversations, entertaining new energy. I was going out a lot. I was laughing, having my little drinks, just partying it up, living life. And on the surface, it looked like I was doing better. But the truth was, I just wasn't sitting still long enough to process anything, right? I wasn't giving my mind time to really think about the situation that hurt me, right? So it's basically like I just distracted myself long enough to feel okay in that moment. And I started realizing how common that is. A lot of people, you as well, that may be listening to this, are doing that right now and don't even realize it. Some of you think that because you're no longer crying, you're no longer checking up on that person, you're no longer sitting in that same pain, that means that you've grown. But all that really did was replace the silence with noise. You're replacing that pain with attention. You're replacing that healing process with movement. That movement can feel like progress, but it's not always growth. You could be moving fast and still be going right there in the same circles, right? And that's pretty much what distraction does. It gives you just enough relief to keep going without actually forcing yourself to change anything. It gives you that validation without accountability. It gives you comfort without reflection. So you can talk to somebody new and feel wanted again. You can go out and feel alive again. You can keep your phone busy. You can keep your schedule packed, take your trips, keep your mind occupied. And for a while, that does work. In that moment, it does work. You really believe that you're good until something triggers you, or until you hear that person's name, or until you see that person again, or even you come across something that reminds you of that situation. And now it's like all of those feelings that you thought were gone, they come back and they hit you all over again like it never left. And then it brings back confusion because you thought you were past it, but you were never past it. You just never processed it because you never gave your brain time to process it. That's the difference people don't want to acknowledge, because real healing, it doesn't happen in distraction. It happens in stillness. Stillness, oh, excuse me, y'all. Stillness forces you to sit with your thoughts, your emotions, your mistakes, your patterns, all the things that you've been trying to avoid. It forces you to ask yourself questions that you don't want to answer. For instance, like, why did I stay in something that didn't feel right? Or why did I ignore red flags that I clearly saw? Or why do I keep attracting the same type of person? Or why did I attach myself so quickly? Or what am I actually avoiding? And those are like the hard questions that we tend to avoid, because now it's not about them anymore. It's about you. And a lot of people would rather stay distracted than to face that, right? Because when you face yourself, it requires accountability that most people don't want to take. It requires you to admit that you played a part in what you went through, even if it was just staying longer than you should have. That's uncomfortable. So instead, people tend to jump into something new. They keep that same energy going. They tell themselves, I'm just going to move on. I'm not going to look back. I'm in a better place. But if you never took the time to understand what actually happened, if you never took the time to sit with those emotions and actually process them, then let's be real, you didn't actually move on. All you did was move forward without that closure. And that's going to always catch up to you. It's going to always catch up. But whatever you don't, because whatever you don't heal from, you're going to carry that burden with you. It's going to always show up in ways that you don't expect or that you least expect. It shows up in your trust issues, in your communication. It shows up in your triggers. It shows up in how you respond to new people. It shows up in the patterns that you constantly keep repeating. And now it's like you're dealing with somebody new, but you're reacting from those old wounds. And that new person does not deserve that, right? That's how that cycle continues. That's how you end up in the same situation, but with a different person. Because yes, your environment changed, but you didn't. And that's something that we as people have to really sit with ourselves and think, because that new person doesn't deserve our past traumas, right? I had to get to a point where I stopped running from the discomfort and actually faced it, where I allowed myself to feel everything that I had been avoiding, right? Where I stopped filling every quiet moment with noise and actually sat in my own thoughts. And I'm not telling you it's easy, because it's not. It's going to be uncomfortable, frustrating. It forced me to look at things that I didn't want to admit, right? And that's where your growth comes in at. It's not because I was distracted, not because I was busy, not because I was doing too much, but it was when I was honest with myself. And that's the part people tend to skip. They want the outcome of healing without going through the process. They want to feel better without actually doing the work it takes to get there. It does not work like that at all, because real healing, it requires stillness, reflection, accountability, and time. And if you're constantly running from that, then guess what? You're not healing. You're just delaying it. Now, I already know this one's going to hit some people a little differently. So let me just ask y'all this. Are you actually healing, or are you just staying busy so you don't have time to feel it? Think about it. Be honest in the comments, all right? And if you're rocking with conversations like this, the real, unfiltered, no sugarcoating, make sure you go ahead and hit the subscribe button and stay tapped in with the Bedroom Spice Unfiltered, because we have a whole lot more hot topics coming. So thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure y'all subscribe, because we got a whole lot more coming.